So thinking about a career as a doctor surgery assistant, huh?
Hmm.
Gotta say, that's a really interesting one. You're literally right there with the doctor, but you're also the friendly face that puts patients at ease, you know? We actually dove into RoleCatcher to get all the details for you, figure out what this job is all about.
Yeah, and it's a pretty wild ride from what I've seen. I mean, the thing that always gets me is how it's not just about the medical stuff. You're dealing with people on what might be like one of their scariest days, so that human connection, being able to just be there for them, it's huge.
For sure. For sure. So RoleCatcher, they describe a doctor's surgery assistant as someone who basically supports the doctor in every way. Think assisting during procedures, handling all those diagnostic tests, making sure everything's squeaky clean, basically the behind-the-scenes stuff that keeps the surgery running.
It's a lot to handle, that's for sure. And RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from that in their work environment section. Long hours are a given, and you got to be ready for some, well, intense situations. But at the end of the day, you're making a real difference for people.
Totally. And RoleCatcher actually lists out like the good and the bad, which I appreciate. They're honest about the
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, helping people is rewarding, and there's definitely room to grow in your career, but they're upfront about the stress and the crazy hours. Does that track with what you've seen?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. You're dealing with people's health, and often when they're really stressed out, you got to have some serious resilience to be compassionate and empathetic while also, like, sticking to the rules and getting stuff done.
It's wild how RoleCatcher breaks those skills down. Active listening, they say that makes up 55% of the job. Customer service is a whopping 70%. Seems like those people skills are just as important as the actual medical know-how, which sits at 66%.
Exactly. Imagine you're the patient, right? You're anxious, you don't know what's going on, and the doctor's surgery assistant takes the time to actually hear you out, explain things clearly, and just, makes you feel safe. That kind of human touch, that genuine care, can make all the difference in the world.
Makes you realize just how important those people skills are in healthcare, huh? Like, it's not just about knowing the procedures, it's about knowing how to actually be there for the patient.
For sure. And it makes you think, like, what kind of impact a really good doctor surgery assistant could have when a patient is freaking out. Just having that calm, reassuring presence, that's got to make a world of difference.
Absolutely. Which, speaking of, brings us to something else. RoleCatcher talks about career progression. They've got this whole path laid out from starting out to like senior level positions, more responsibility, leadership opportunities, all that.
Right. And they even have these example profiles like, okay, here's what you might be doing at this stage. This is what the next step looks like. It's actually super helpful.
Yeah, it is. So you might start off assisting with procedures, making sure everything is sterile, all that. But as you gain experience, boom, you're running diagnostic tests, managing records, even training new folks. Pretty cool to see it laid out like that.
It is. Shows you there's room to grow. Like if you put in the work, you can really move up in this field. And it's not like you ever stop learning either, which RoleCatcher emphasizes. Even if you're like a total pro, they've got a whole section on continuous learning. Courses, webinars, mentorship, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah. Elevating your career, right? I thought that was interesting. Healthcare is always changing, so I guess it makes sense that you got to keep learning to stay on top of everything.
Exactly. New technologies, procedures you got to keep up if you want to give patients the best care possible.
It's like RoleCatcher saying, look, getting the job is just the first step, which is kind of cool, honestly. Shows they're invested in your long-term success.
Totally. And speaking of investment, this is where I think RoleCatcher really stands out. Like, they don't just give you info, they give you actual tools to help you land that job. Their beat the automated recruiter approach is
Yeah.
wild.
Seriously, 9 million
Yeah.
employers
Yeah.
in their database. I mean, come on, that's nuts. It's like a cheat code for job hunting. So how's this AI system work exactly? They say it helps your application, like jump out at recruiters, which in this job market, that's gold, right?
It is pretty amazing what AI can do these days. Basically, it looks at job descriptions and figures out how to make your resume like the best possible fit.
Whoa, so it's basically like having a whole marketing team for your resume.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, that's awesome and all. But in a job like this, where connecting with people is so important, do you think a super polished resume is really going to be the thing that makes or breaks it? I mean, you could have the best resume on the planet, but at the end of the day, it's how you treat the patient,
Yeah.
That empathy, that ability to connect, that's what really matters.
100%. The doctor needs their surgery assistant to be their eyes and ears, not just with the procedures themselves, but like, how's the patient doing? Are they okay? That takes real empathy, those communication skills that RoleCatcher kept bringing up.
Exactly. The AI can get your foot in the door, but it's those human qualities that make all the difference. Especially in a job like this, where you're right there with the patient.
Right. Totally. And you know what else? RoleCatcher emphasizes continuous learning. It's not just about getting hired, it's about building a career. They even recommend certifications, things like basic life support, becoming a certified medical assistant, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, like having a whole plan, not just a map. Oh, and remember that part with the interview questions. Over 120,000 practice questions. Talk about walking into an interview feeling ready for anything.
Exactly. They want to set you up for success, which is pretty cool. They even have a section on networking, like, hey, connect with people on LinkedIn, check out these associations.
You know what caught my eye? That part where RoleCatcher lists alternative job titles, for a doctor surgery assistant. What do you think that says about this field? Especially for someone who's just starting out.
Healthcare's always changing, right? Job titles change, new specializations pop up all the time. Being adaptable is huge. It's not like you learn one thing and you're good to go. You gotta keep learning, keep growing.
That's such a good point. And not just for this job, but any job. It's that whole growth mindset. Things change, you gotta change with them.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Resources like RoleCatcher, super valuable. But in the end, it comes down to passion, hard work, and that willingness to always be learning.
So it sounds like becoming a doctor surgery assistant it's a commitment to the job, to the patients, to always improving yourself. But if you love fast-paced work, if you're passionate about making a difference in people's lives, and if you're like a learning machine, well, this could be an amazing career.
Totally. And hey, if you're even a little bit curious, go check out RoleCatcher. You might be surprised what you find.